Hey everybody, Russ from Black Label RC again. I've got an assembly to walk you through. This is for a Bandit late model or street stock mount and bumper kit. And it comes with the front bumper, the foam that sticks on there. It's got a really nice looking engraving in there, which is backwards on the stupid camera, but you get the point. Unfortunately, using the foam bumper, you need to use the slick side, the shiny side, so the engraved side will go down. The foam will go on top of that. This is already cut open. You just need to slide it over the nuts where they are, and then you just peel the backing. I'm sure you know how to use double-sided tape. So it comes with the bumper, the foam. This is the mount for it. This is a brace for it. And this is the rear mount for it. I've got it partially assembled. As you can see, there's adjustment holes, so you can adjust it further back or further forward, whatever you want. It comes with the posts. The late model and street stock kits have different length posts because the street stock bodies sit up way higher than the late models. So I'll put the posts in as you order these. So, all right. And then we've got the hardware. There's an assortment of screws, nuts, stand-ups, and body clips that actually go on the posts. That's to hold the body. I don't have really any better method to hold the body up at this point. Maybe someday. And then there's two 440 screws. Those go through these two holes here, and they screw into the rear shock tower where that goofy wing mount wire thing comes out. And then there's a sticker. So, all right, let me put this down here. Hopefully it'll stay in place, and I can show you how to put this together. So, I've already got this little adapter installed, so that's where it's going to be. You shouldn't have to put that on. It's pointless for me to put it in the bag. And then, like I said, you just got to figure out where you want this set up at. That's the top. You got to figure out where you want this set up at, and then just tighten up the screws and nuts. So for the bumper, first we're gonna put the mount on. Mount goes over the top like this. We'll open up the hardware. There are two 8mm screws that go at the front. They're just button heads. Slap those in there, hold them in, and of course this is adjustable too. That's why there's all these holes. You just want to have 4 points holding it, so 4 screws. If you've got to put it way out there, it might weaken it a little bit, but it's going to be okay. You just remember that you're holding the front of the body on posts that go right here on each side. So we go right there. We put the nuts on. I'm just assembling everything loose right now. For the Midwest and the short course mod kits, I actually put the bumper together just so I know it's done right, and then it's up to you to adjust. It's the same thing. You just adjust this forward and back however far you want the nose out or in. It does the same deal here. This might intrude with the foam a little bit, and actually if you wanted to, you could put the mount on the bottom. It's not really, you can see it's got pretty good kick up, so it's up pretty high. The bumper is just for something to cushion the body. It kind of helps save the body so it's not getting beat up on. You see how you can just tighten that up and then pull your double-sided tape, slap it in place. That's why you want to have it, I'll revise this. You need to put this part on the bottom so that you've got this flat side for the double-sided tape to put on there. The foam is optional. You don't necessarily have to put it on there, but it does help to save the body. All right, next part, you don't put the foam on until you're completely done. That way you know exactly where it's going to be. You'll have the body attached to the car, and then you'll put the foam on there and just adjust the bumper and stuff. So for this here, like I said, you want to have 4 points attaching the bumper mount, or the bumper to the mount. So there are two 14 millimeter screws. Those will go into how, now this is another thing, you're going to have to figure out how this aligns with the chassis, where it mounts on the chassis. So, and it takes a little bit of thought, but if you have to force anything and if anything is goofy about it, always text me or message me and I can walk you through it. So that mounts just like that. You could mount the mount further back. You could even, if you wanted to push it really far forward, you could actually, if you've got more just 8 millimeter screws and M3 nuts, you could attach that there, and then you could move this, depending on how far, you could move this back all the way to where it's not, to where the screws are actually back here on these holes. However, everything fits. I mean, there's tons of different bodies, so I don't want to get too specific with how these work. So, but you just attach that like that. This, of course, goes to the bottom of the chassis. You pull those screws. They should slap right on there. If for some reason you wanted to get a couple millimeter longer screws just to make up for the added material here, that's fine. I think the bumper mounts are pretty similar to the thickness of this, so the screws should be okay. Alright, now this part right here where it attaches, I don't have an actual Bandit to show you, but it attaches to the two front holes on the chassis. It's self-explanatory. It lines up with these two outer holes on the piece. So that's what these 25 millimeter screws are for. You can put them through, and the bends on this aren't necessarily right, but you can always, this is fairly easy to bend. You just want to try and get it to where it's bent straight, to where it's not pulling the bumper up or pushing it down. Understand? I know you can't answer. That's all right. So these standoffs go in here. They're actually a bigger size and they are threaded, but they don't thread onto these screws. They're just there to raise this up. So you'll put the standoffs on here and then screw them to that chassis. It'd probably be easier to put this piece onto the chassis first, and then you can attach everything else from there. So just so you see, it's kind of hard to hold these on here and see. Yeah, they just attach to the front nose of the chassis itself. Again, if you have any questions on where they mount, feel free to send me a picture and I can circle where they mount at. All right, so that's the front. And then when you're, like I said, when you're done, you just attach the foam bumper. You can always take a Dremel or something like that, or even if you wanted to hack it to pieces, use a razor knife. It cuts pretty easy. It's kind of tough to make a nice cut. So if you have a belt sander or something like that, that's a great thing to use if you wanted to contour it more or make it flatter. The late model bodies are pretty flat in the front, but it just makes a universal mount. So, all right, onto the back. Oh, the posts for the front go on the outside. There's 3.5 inch for the street stocks, I think is what it is, and then anywhere from 1 1/8 to 2 2-inch, something like that for the rear. I'm not really sure. I could probably use a little help from somebody actually mounting it onto the chassis. All right, so the rear, there's a bag labeled 440. These are two 440 standard thread screws, and that's what threads into those holes. You could probably do the M3 screws in there, but I think just to start, use these. If for some reason they're not snug, you can throw M3 screws in there. They mount to between the shock tower. Let me get a demonstration piece. Never mind, no demonstration today. You know where they are, where the wires come out for the goofy wing. Those screws just go right in there, and then tighten this, throw the posts on, Bob's your uncle. This is a sticker. It goes on the car to let people know that you've got some awesome Black Label RC stuff. Everybody seems to like it. That's good. I'm really proud of the hard work that I've put into these things. So if you have any questions, you can hit me up on Messenger at Black Label RC Racing, on Facebook on Black Label RC Racing, or Russ Carruthers if you're on any of the group chats, or just the regular Messenger. So hit me up if you need any help. Thanks. Bye.